I don't need a pen.
Point at me with the marker for emphasis.
Let
me tell you something.
I need a prop. I'm throwing things at the camera. Give him more things to throw. It's funnier that way.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how far we get this time, how fired up we get you. All right, so we're back talking with you guys about things that we care about, things that we want to communicate to you about not only our practice, but what we feel like is important throughout the sports medicine community and how that relates to you as the viewer as well. So last time we were talking about things that we stand for and how transparency is just one of our foundational ethics or principles at Restore Thrive. Another area that we want to talk about in this series is how we stand apart. What differentiates us from, say, another place you would go for sports medicine services? And so our first principle there is a concept that some of you are probably familiar with, which is the abundance mindset, which is the opposite end of the spectrum as opposed to the scarcity mindset, which would be kind of this idea around I am the sole purveyor of everything that you need, or the only person who can help you with your problem. And we feel like that's just a incomplete model at best. That would be the kind way of putting that.
That and where we stand apart being the separate from others is we might not be the right fit.
Right.
And that's okay because there's abundance out there. There's more places for you to go.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We could also look at it from a selfish standpoint. I want all the business.
Mm-hmm.
Well, while I want a full schedule, not everybody fits with what we do.
Right.
But realizing that because you're not the one today, you're not the only one. There's one behind you. There's 10. There's 100 behind you. Where we live, where we work, where we play, it's very abundant. Like there's people all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
They're out there. Let's bring them in.
Yeah. Well, and I think for us, this idea of abundance mindset goes into what you all experience as well. It's like we live in communities. Like that's how we exist as human beings. And we feel as a practice that our practice can only be successful if we have friends in the medical community who can help us fill the gaps where it's just outside of our scope of practice. Like, I'm not the expert in nutrition. I'm not the expert in orthopedic surgeries. I'm not the expert in pharmacology, any of those things. And so what we've tried to do is really collect a group of providers in a bunch of different areas. And I think that's one of the reasons that we connected after all the years of doing our things in kind of separate lanes, recognizing that it's like, all right, well, you have a skill set that's very valuable for our clients in terms of that end of care, with physical therapy, but not being ready for the next step, which is return to play, return to work, those type of things. And, in this case, it made sense for us to work together. But we find a lot of times when people have come to their end of care with us, whether it's the athletic training side or whether it's physical therapy side, sometimes they need to see whether it's a new primary care physician, a nutritionist, even just somebody to work on kind of the mental side of things, a good psychologist as well, to kind of overcome that fear of injury or that resistance to going back to the activity that they got hurt, doing. I think it's really important that all providers are able to link their clients to other people that can help them, because otherwise I think people are getting really just limited care where it's like they're not going to be able to get back to their previous level of function, whether that's day-to-day life or sporting performance for that matter, if we have these providers who are just trying to be this one-stop shop for everything that an athlete or just an active person needs.
It's more about the provider than it is the patient.
Yeah.
And in our last video, we talked about it's not about us, it's about you, the person. Yeah. So how do we work with your situation globally? How do we take your entire situation and work within those parameters? They're all different. Everybody's an individual. Everybody has individual wants and needs. They're also confined with their situation.
Yeah.
So how do we work with their specific situation, knowing this is where we want them to be. But if they fall outside of that, how can we either shepherd them in or make them shuttle to better providers that are easier to work with, that are more in tune with their goals?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the big piece of that too with this abundance mindset is making sure that when we make a referral, when we send somebody out, that it's somebody that we know, like, and trust. It's like
I would go there.
Right. It's not somebody, and this is one of the things, we'll get into this in a future series. One of the things we're really excited to talk to you guys about is a lot of the shenanigans that we see in this.
That is putting it so kindly. It makes it sound fun. The back end of that is just shenanigans. It is.
Some of them are fun and cheeky. Some of them are sad and tragic. But one of the things that we're really big on is referring our clients to people that we know, like, and trust. People that we know will do a good job, will provide the service that they need as well. And one of the things we see in the standard medical system is a lot of the referrals that are made are based on kind of this what would you call it? The providers who are sending people out are sending them to people who have done something for them. It's not a true quid pro quo, right, where it's like they're getting a kickback for sending somebody out, but at the same time, they're not doing it for the most altruistic reasons. A lot of times it's because they've seen a lot of people who've been sent their way from this referral partner, just because they had developed this kind of business-friendly relationship.
Mm-hmm. It's almost contractual.
Right. And it's not always the best thing for the patient. It becomes more like you were talking about. It's more the provider sees the greatest benefit from sending somebody to a certain other partner. So
having your own situation laid out in front of you and then given the options is a lot that we don't see.
Yeah.
These contractual obligations that they have with a specific provider using another specific provider limits everybody on all ends. It limits the patient, it limits the provider, it limits their network. They are not branching out. They're still very siloed. Even though they might be 3 separate organizations, they're all doing the same thing repeatedly.
Yeah.
And it might not be the best.
Well, and I think the big piece of that is the incentives too. When you have somebody who just has a almost automatic referral system where it's like, I'm going to send you to the same person every time. I think what that does is that really decreases both the motivation of the person who is the referral provider. So the doctor who's referring you to somebody else doesn't have the motivation necessarily to think critically about, is this the best fit for this person? And then for that person who's receiving the referral as well, if there's no real motivation in terms of outcomes, like what kind of service are we getting here, then I think, again, the patient is the one who suffers because they're not working with somebody who is striving for an excellent client experience, who is trying to, or even just like a provider who's so busy that they can't keep up with what's the best evidence in terms of how we treat this person, in terms of clinical education or continuing education. I think the system really starts to become more of a machine than it is a true community, which is what we're really trying to build. It's like when we send somebody to a provider, it's like we have a great massage therapist who works right on the other side of this strip mall that we're in. And it's like we know her directly and we've experienced her services and we have conversations with her so that we're clear that she's a good fit. And we have those direct conversations with people too. It's like, who do you want to see? Who's a good fit for you as well? So even that person who's a neighbor of ours in terms of somebody who's close to our business who'd be convenient to send clients over to, it's like not every client's going to be the best fit for that person either. So I think just that sensitivity to the individual, like you're talking about, it is the most important thing in keeping the focus on the client as opposed to making a lot of the provider is really a big differentiator, again, in terms of how we're trying to practice.
Yeah, we are assuming nothing from them. We are saying, hey, we don't know your entire situation. We want you to be transparent with us, to give us all of the information, but we want to knock down whatever barriers there are, or where your blind spots are. They might not even know about certain massage and myofascial release practitioners that are around, or that they would even benefit from it. We don't offer that service. Why would we talk about it? Oh, because it's the best for our patient.
Yeah.
we want them to get the best care.
Right.
So with that, hey, now how do I have? Also look at the abundance mindset through the lens of, when we have one person that we trust, what happens when they're busy? What happens when they can't take our patients because they just don't have the time?
Yeah.
Do we have an option B? If we don't have an option B, we're not living up to what we're saying. So we have this Rolodex of massive people that we trust. We're constantly looking for more people that we can help our clients.
Absolutely.
And when we help our clients, we help other people, we're helping our community, and everything comes back around. Now we are being stewards in our community.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, man, that's a good way to put it. I think that's a good place to put a pin in it. I think, as I'm thinking about this, just a good call to action today would probably be just making sure that as you think about whether it's coming to work with us or coming to work with somebody else, just making sure that when you're having conversations with people, being willing to ask those questions, those deeper questions about, the treatment that you're getting, or if there's something that you're not getting in that treatment, who that person would recommend to help you achieve the goals that you have, and really taking, again, those foundations of what it means to have an abundance mindset as well. It's like, we want you to hopefully gain something from watching all the videos that we put out on our YouTube channel. But, again, this isn't one of those things where we just want you to watch the video, like it, make a comment, and then just, leave and go on your merry way. It's like, we want you to share that with somebody else. Think about the other people who could benefit from that. If you're a provider who is feeling like, I don't have somebody that I can talk to about these things, or I feel like I'm kind of on an island here, I think our call would be, it's like, hey, reach out to us. Like, let's sit down and have a conversation. It's like, what we're doing here, this is not a show that we're putting on. These are the conversations that we have off camera all the time, which is, hey, we want to get more connected with everybody in our community for the benefit of the people that we're trying to help. That's where it starts and where it finishes. So take that to heart today. Take that as your call today. Share this with somebody. Have a conversation with somebody. Go a little bit deeper. Keep that abundance mindset in mind. I think that's going to be a great guide for all of you who are watching, is just really being able to discern, like, all right, who's really looking out for my best interest versus who's trying to protect their own interests. So give that some thought today, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you again soon.